Fixed income, what we call in Islamic terms sukuk, a very what I call exotic products nowadays. People are talking about that, and many people have issued, even from non-Muslim countries. I think you have heard about government of Saxony-Anhalt in German. They have issued sukuk before, and some other countries. South Korean is thinking of having sukuk. Australia and some other countries. Not to give you example of Muslim countries, of course, they have a lot of sukuk in that particular situation. This fall under the category of corporate finance that we talk nowadays as fixed income. Derivative, excuse me. When it comes to derivatives so far, we don't allow in Islamic manner the derivative that are exchange traded in nature. We don't have any so far. However, we have what we call OTC. Some people not happy to use the word derivatives, but that can behave like a derivative in that particular situation. You have forward currency contract, you have forward contract, you have options, you have swap. But they are not futures, they are not exchange-based traded, rather they are OTC-based. And the intention is to manage risk. Not to speculate, not to make profit out of that. It's more toward managing risk of the banks and financial institutions and corporates. You can browse through, for example, www.sc.com.my, for example, for you to get more info on the discussion on derivatives. What are the spectrums allowed for the use of derivative in Islamic finance? And money market, I think it's beyond our discussion today. If I go through that, it's going to take time for that particular situation. Let me just skip that with your permission. Capital market, I think you know that this better than me, is where people and the surplus unit and the deficit unit meet for them to get financing either through the issuance of equity or the issuance of debt. I mean, these are varieties that a corporation may want to look into. Not necessarily that the corporate will need money, want to issue sukuk. They may want to enlarge the capital base, for example, by issuing more share for that matter. Then they will get more share to the market by having IPOs and so forth and so on. Or they may not want to liquidate their position. They want to maintain the control over the company. What they want to issue is they want to issue fixed income, for example. So in Islam, whether you want to issue fixed income or you want to issue equity, all are facilitated through Islamic capital market for that matter. This is basically the function of capital market. On the product side, you have all the surplus unit here, individual business, the surplus unit, those who have more money, want to invest, for example, individuals, high net worth people, for example, businesses, governments, corporate, we have surplus, they want to invest, for example, government or government alike, sovereign fund, provident fund, and so forth and so on, banks, and so forth and so on, they want to subscribe some of the capital market products, for example. On the other side, you have also those who need some funding, individual businesses, governments, for example, for infra, for development of the countries, banks, and so forth and so on. Okay? So this is the infrastructure, the buzzer, the clearing house, the investment banker, and the laws there to ensure that the channeling of the money from the surplus to deficit using the appropriate mechanism and with investor protection for that matter. This is generally what capital market will happen. Of course, I know that you know that the market will be divided into primary and secondary market. Islamic capital market is the same way it behaves like capital market conventionally. The only difference is that this capital market shall follow the principles of the Sharia. That's what differentiates Islamic capital market from normal capital market. Of course, by we mentioning that you following the principle of the Sharia, there may be products that cannot be offered Islamically. For example, derivatives which are futures in nature, for example, or traded options and swaps, they are not possible in Sharia, simply because by nature they are not in compliance with the Sharia. But largely saying, equity and sukuk, which is fixed income in nature, so totally you can structure following the Sharia principle for that particular situation. This is the broad discussion on Islamic capital market. As you can see, whatever you can see in conventional area, you see also here. On the capital equity market, you have equities, you have shares, for example, the normal shares. What happened in Islamic is that these shares will be screened according to Sharia screening processes. Of course, it will take a long time to discuss what are the Sharia screening processes, the rationale behind that, what are the ratios and everything, which I don't think beyond our discussion this morning. You have to give me half a day or a day for me to finish all those things. This is on the equity market, which replicate the normal equity market conventionally. In fact, they are the same. Okay? We screen out companies that does not follow the necessary requirement of the Sharia. We filtered out tobacco-based company, we filtered out the liquor-based companies, and so forth and so on, which by nature contradict the principle of the Sharia. On the Sukuk market, which in corporate finance classified under fixed income, for example, you have the Sukuk market where you have all the Sukuk of issuance, issuance of Sukuk everywhere in the world. Derivative market, as I said, they are not every product in derivative markets can be offered in Islamic manner. However, we have the forward contracts, the options. They are not the normal option that you see. It is what I call modified Islamic options, which is different from the conventional, but has been issued in so many places. You have also swap, but all these products, they have two main features. The first one, they are not traded. They are actually OTC basis. Second, the intention is not for you to speculate. The intention is for the corporation, for the financial institutions to manage their risk by having this product covered. And on the second line, you can see a lot of secondary products that will ride on this product for them to issue their own instrument and product. For example, you have Islamic ETFs, exchange traded funds, for example, where it will use either equity or sukuk for them to have their underlying. You have Islamic hedge fund, for example. There are some hedge fund issued out of Dubai and also out of US, for that matter. I have no time to go deeper to discuss about Islamic hedge fund. The word Islamic hedge fund is something need a lot of elaboration and a lot of discussion, even in the scholastic manner. Unit trust, some part they call unit trust, some they call Islamic mutual fund. We have a lot of funds under this category. It can be made easily Islamic if the underlying are complied to the Sharia. Islamic structured products, you have a lot of Islamic structured products. You have Islamic REITs, for example, real estate investment trusts. Up till today, you don't see Islamic REITs except in Malaysia. We have 3 Islamic REITs. Their performance is much, much better than conventional. I myself don't know why, but that is the fact. The Islamic REITs, for example, and you have also Islamic fund here that may also utilize some part of it. We in Malaysia are looking into benefiting from Canada in terms of the listed fund. We don't have any listed fund so far. We are studying on the perspective of having some funds listed on the exchange for that particular situation. I think you have more than 60, according to our research and study. The highest listed fund in the world is in Canada so far, if I'm right on that. That's what they have told me in terms of their research on that. All right. So, as I mentioned, for the product of Islamic capital market to be acceptable, they must be Sharia compliant product. Right? Observation that I can say is that there are a lot of varieties of issuance and offering in Islamic capital market, the one that I have put down there. Among the most important offering are shares, stock, where you screen according to certain Sharia principle, and the sukuk issuance. That are the most celebrated product, I may say. Say, for example, let us focus a little bit on the sukuk, for example. The issuance of sukuk has been a phenomenon for last 2-3 years. For example, starting for early 20s, for example. A phenomenon except for last year because of the financial crisis and everything, in effect everything. Also the issuance of sukuk, because the corporation that time in the phase of consolidation, positioning themselves back, so they don't need a large of capital. In Malaysia for this year, we anticipate that the Sukuk is going to grow again.